All right, we have a gear switch up happening. I am selling 4 different Canon mount lenses for one Sony lens. And in my mind, that's a really good deal. Just sold this for $475, which is a really cheap price, but I just want to get these EF lenses gone. We're nearing the end of the process of completely switching over from the Canon C70 platform into the Sony FX6, and the last step is getting my dream lens. Not a bad first step into the G Master lineup. This is the first E-mount lens I've ever had. I've been adapting with a Sigma MC11. So this is the new 24-70, which means it's a little smaller. It's a little lighter, and there's a couple more features on this one. So some of the things that I've never used are a clickable aperture that you can declick. And then also you can change the tension on the zoom. So this is smooth, this is tight, great for micro adjustments, and then a couple customizable buttons and a fly-by-wire focus. This is the thing that I'm most worried about. I like having mechanical focus rings. There's no start and stop to this. So I'm hoping, I've heard that it behaves similarly to a mechanical focus lens. So we're saying goodbye to the adapter and lens. This is the Sigma 24-70 EF with optical stabilization, which makes it very big and chunky and wide. And then we'll be putting this on. Now, I thought this would actually be shorter, but it appears to be maybe a millimeter or two longer. But it's deceiving because this is so much lighter than this setup. You can see a little bit of the size difference here. This is just a chunky, heavier lens. The Sigma is currently on eBay. It ends in about an hour, so I think I'll probably get $700 for that, which is good because this one cost $2,300. Battery is the last piece of the puzzle. And this rig is much lighter than before. It's still heavy in the sense of no micro jitters, which I really like since I use this for a lot of handheld documentary work. But for EF lenses, this one's selling. That means the only thing I have left is this 30mm prime, which I might just keep for possibly some gimbal stuff, and which means I would still need the adapter. And then that would also allow me to use the Tamron 150-600. I do not want to get a Sony equivalent of this because it's very expensive and I rarely use it. So I think just keeping that adapter and allowing me to have that lens and that lens as a backup might be a good idea. 1, 0. Yeah, 765. That is great. That's a large portion of the new lens. All right, looks like I won't be keeping the 30mm. Someone sniped it for $100, so good deal for them. I'm going to FedEx to drop off the lens, but I just got a crazy email saying, you know that long 12-day time-lapse job I did? Very high value job, high price, probably the biggest price I've ever had a job before. I sent them all the media on a hard drive, and they're circling back with me a couple months later, and they said, we can't find it. And that has all of the media. The project files, the time lapses, the B-roll, everything is on a hard drive that they lost. And that's it. So luckily I have an archive of it. I kept it. But if I didn't, I did my contracted duties, so I'm in the clear, but they would be out of luck. So I'm gonna grab a hard drive, invoice them for the hard drive, the shipping, and the time to transfer it. But I'm definitely saving them. So very interesting situation that I've never dealt with before. So first of all, we're on the eImage GH06 tripod. I linked this in the description. This is an insanely good value for a very affordable price. This head was $600, and it comes with counterbalance. So with a perfectly balanced rig, it will stay at whatever point you want it to. All right, now we're gonna get into some of the good stuff. So if we put it on ND Auto, you can see we are at ND 1/108. so the sky is not clipping. And I can even zoom in a bit. Let's put it right about there. Sky looks good in the waveform in the bottom right. And then if I go down, that dark shadow in a tree gradually brightens up and gives me a perfect exposure. If I go back up, watch the trees, they get darker as the sky exposure darkens. So this combination of cinema camera but auto capabilities, for example, we're also on autofocus right now, makes this a documentarian's dream setup. If I want to go full manual, I can. If I want to lean on modern technology and use things like auto exposure via the ND, or autofocus, or eye tracking, or animal tracking, this camera can do it. I am so happy with how this is turning out. I'm used to shooting all of my MMA content on a C70, and it had fantastic dynamic range. So now that I'm switching to the FX6, it still is beautiful. The highlights are still here. It might not show up in the iPhone. The blacks are not fully clipped. I'm following a tree from Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter. So it's something along the line of white balance, contrast, and then your LUT, and then some select color manipulation. And this one is micro contrast added, and then I decided to put a little bit of glow on here. And then for this one, I'm trying something different where I'm adding a 35mm grain overlay. So if I disable here, you can see the grain is there, and I just changed the opacity to overlay. And if you're gonna do a grain overlay, you have to start with a high data rate file, or else the grain will just mush and really destroy the image into big blocky artifacts. So FX6 footage is very high data rate, and that way it can still pick up the fine grain on this. And then when you export it, it's still there. These are just small projects that I could get to be creative with, so that's why I like them. This is a general PSA. If you are even remotely considering creating something like a podcast or a vlog channel or a TikTok, you should do it, because you never know what it's going to lead to. And if it doesn't lead to anything, at least you have the memories catalog. That is what started me on my journey to do my own. I was watching the Cranky Cameraman's vlogs, and I just felt like I was getting a perspective I'd never been able to get before of someone who is a career professional. It felt like I was right there with him. So he inspired me to make my own, and I've actually gotten some feedback where I've inspired other people to do it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph, and I'm a freelance video creator from Gothenburg, Sweden. I want to give a shout out to David Winters, aka the Cranky Cameraman, and David Moorfield at Moorfield Visuals for inspiring me to create this kind of work vlog.
Sometimes it feels like there's a big creative hurdle you have to get over to start one of these, but it's actually an extremely small hurdle. All you have to do is put out the first piece of content, and then you start learning. Then you start seeing, oh, what's my audience? What do I like to make? What hits best on this platform? It just takes that little bit of push in the beginning to get it going. I'm someone who always loves to comment on videos because I like to keep the conversation going. But now when I do it, sometimes people know of my little channel, or maybe they made that video because they saw something I made. And it's just really cool to see this cyclical type of progression and motivation just from being on YouTube and posting stuff. I will be using the 24-70 on Thursday for a corporate job, new client, new gig, got it from Production Hub. As always, if you guys want to buy my time, buy my advice, learn from my mistakes, learn from the mistakes of others, you can always book a consultation call. The email's in the description. It's $125 for an hour. And my final question is, do you have one of these creative ideas for a YouTube channel or a podcast? Put the idea in the comments and we can give each other the first round of feedback.